I took this in a bar the night after she died. I just was walking at the bar and I saw this on the table and I took the picture. This image of Elizabeth Taylor is so from another era, and I thought it was a really nice memento of her as well. Your life's going on, people are still having drinks. And I love it says lustrous pinnacle of Hollywood glamour. You just never hear that phrase. My only meeting with her, actually, was at Carrie Fisher's birthday party, and then Elizabeth Taylor arrived, and Carrie said, get in there and flank that legend. That's what she said. She'd recently fallen, and she banged her bottom of her back and everything on the floor. And I said to her, oh, was there much pain? And she went, you have never seen such a black ass. Like that. And I went, I bet I have, Elizabeth.
I've had the rare opportunity to meet many amazing photographers who move through the different landscapes to create powerful images. I'm always inspired by how these images transform the way we see people and understand the world. A great photograph needs no explanation, but on Capture, these incredible people tell the story of creating their most memorable images. I'm Mark Seliger, and this is Capture. Hi, I'm Mark Seliger. Welcome to Capture. I'm here with the award-winning Alan Cumming.
Hello, Mark.
How are you, Alan? And the amazing fashion photographer, portrait photographer, Sebastian Kim.
Hey,
thank you guys for coming today. Alan, you are a photographer who I'm just started to get familiar with your work. I am excited to talk about your work because it goes from found objects and portraiture and, you know, stories about your life, and it just seems like there's like a nice broad sense of you documenting who you are.
For me, I do various different things, and photography is a relatively new strand. But I think it's all the same thing. You're telling a story in with each picture. So that's why I write stories about each photograph. Because sometimes the story, my story about it, is very different to what the image is. So I think it's only right that whoever sees the picture should get the full Monty.
Sebastian, I have watched your fashion work, which is amazing, but the thing I'm most blown away by are your portraits.
It's strange because I didn't think that I was going to go into portraiture. That there was this interest of mine to do fashion. Why I didn't want to go into portrait was also photographing these celebrities, which I felt was you know, very hard for me to come in, connect, and there was this sense of I was very intimidated. You know, it's like it is
very intimidating.
So I started doing these portrait commissions, and it gave me a chance to meet some of these people that I admire. You know, some of the musicians, actors, directors. When I got the commission to photograph Woody Allen, I was very excited. But because I'm such a big fan, I was extremely nervous. He doesn't give sittings very often. He just came on his own, didn't want any fuss, no hair, no makeup, and he just said, okay, how you want me? I think he only gave me about 6-7 minutes, that's it. I remember maybe 1 or 2 frames that I felt a spark. And I was so proud of this image because, you know, it's Woody, and I you know, love all his films. And it wasn't until much later on that I heard that Woody did not like the picture. And he did not want the picture ever to be published again, and that just killed me.
I feel like I'm a magpie. I'm just drawn to things that are sparkly to me. And they don't necessarily always, they can be quite sad sometimes. The teapot one was actually at a sort of a wake. in a friend's, someone had died, and we all went to this friend's house, and it was just on our shelf. There's a teapot, there was a champagne glass with a fly inside it, which I didn't see till later, and half a smoked joint. And I just thought that was so much about what that time was. It was people getting stoned and drinking, and then all gathering and having cups of tea and just chatting and kind of self-medicating for this death. And so that's what that means to me, that picture. Mostly, I think, oh, that looks nice, and I'll just go to it. It was when I took on the plane a few weeks ago. I was flying somewhere, and you know on the inside of when you have your little shutter that you lift up, like on the plane, and then there's a window, and there's like a vacuum bit, and there's another window. There was a little dead fly inside the vacuum bit. And I took this picture of it, and I thought, how awful, that fly is just going to be there forever, and how did it get in there? And, you know, I just felt so sad for that little fly.
You weren't stoned, though, right?
I was completely sober.
Music was something that I connected with. Once your heart is in it, I feel you tend to work harder at it. With musicians, there's just this excitement that I get. You know, the best photographs are the ones that you really connect to. This is a South African band called Die Antwoord.
Die Antwoord?
Yeah, it means the answer.
Oh, I see.
My assistant sent me a video of theirs and said, "Oh my God, Sebastian, you gotta check out this video." And I watched this video, and I was so blown away, and I said, I really want to photograph this band. They hadn't really blown up in the States. And sure enough, you know, a couple months later, they came to the States and got to photograph them. And at the time, they're just the strangest thing that I've ever seen.
I took this on the set of a movie that's coming out later this year called Any Day Now, and it's about a gay couple in the 70s who try to adopt a Down syndrome child. And this is Garrett Dillahunt, who plays my partner, my boyfriend in it. So we were doing a scene in a nightclub, and the set of it was in some weird kind of social club. It felt very menacing. It was all these American flags and photographs of astronauts and things about guns.
The real world.
It was like real America. And it was in Los Angeles. It wasn't like, you know, in the middle of up a mountain or up a holler. There was some drag queens in this sequence. And so Garrett came in and we're waiting for them to turn around to the lighting, and he just put this wig on and we did this thing. And I just thought, here's one side of America here, and here's another here, and there's I just love it. It's kind of weird and pervy.
It's multi-layered and
yeah,
and yet it all sort of makes sense about
what is America, the new America.
Yeah. Sebastian, he's a scooterologist?
Yeah.
What'd you call it?
Scooterist.
A scooterist.
You mean you go on your scooter?
Well, you know.
Is it?
Check these out. These are Polaroids.
This is so hot. Look at these girls.
This was a scooter, a girl scooter club gang.
They look so
called
hot.
The Dane Balachi.
Look at them.
Fast women. When I started, you know, photograph things around me, there was a point where I was just really big into scooters. I had accumulated all these pictures and I would post them in the scooter forums, so I was known as like the scooter photographer, and people wanted to be photographed like with their scooters.
This is like scooter porn.
That was an obsession of mine for a while.
It's a scooter porn.
Yeah, it is. I get scooter magazines, and that's what my wife calls it. Oh, your scooter porn came in, and you know.
You know, I'll be upstairs for a while.
With photography, it kind of opens you to a world because you photograph these people, you can connect with them.
I would rather do the things that I want to do and have fun and find new ways to connect with people, which I really think the photography thing's been great for me in that way, than not do it for fear that people would criticize. Part of the reason that you are able to have an exhibition of photograph, or I was anyway, is that you know what I mean, that my name is in the title, And
just shut up, you're famous.
Yes, I'm famous.
Okay.
So that obviously helps you. So that obviously there's an inbuilt potential resentment right there.
Right.
Because it's not just on your own merits.
Exactly.
Even though I did think they're nice photos and people like them and blah, blah, blah. But what can you do? And it's not like people come up and go, how dare you, Alan Cumming, you know, blah, blah, blah.
I noticed about your photographs is it's like your little window into your naughty little secrets here. And you kind of go from the picture of Elizabeth Taylor to, you know, this.
Oh, that's me.
Self-portrait.
Yeah, I do quite a lot. Yeah, this is when I was in the L word. And the only thing I like about self-portraits is when you see a lot of them together and you see how different you look. That's how I like them best. I can actually see what I look like. You know, it's quite a nice way of a record of thinking, and then you go home that night and you think, oh, that's who I am. But I quite like this one because it sort of looks so weird.
I cherish these photographs because, you know, you capture what's around you and what you connect with. And for me at the moment, my wife is about to have, we're about to have our first child, so.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh, thanks. So these were the first kind of pictures I took of her when she just had a tummy.
Oh, I see.
And she had always
Gorgeous.
asked me to photograph her, and, you know, and I was like, I gotta find the right time. And she was just standing there in a bathroom door. We have a frosted bathroom door. And I said, oh my God, just don't move. And, you know, it's something kind of like hit, just, you know, and.
Has she seen these?
She hasn't seen any of these, actually.
But she looks fantastic. But I'm intrigued to hear that you don't take photographs of her all the time.
No, I actually don't, and I want to.
It's like the things that you love can be your best subjects.
Exactly.
And you forget that.
Exactly, and I forget that, and I feel like, you know, you want to do something that feels very meaningful to you, and for me, there it was. It's my wife, you know.
Actually, once, you know, I wrote the foreword for a book of nude self-portraits. All these photographers had to do themselves, naked. And it was really fascinating, seeing how they represented themselves in that one time when the camera was turned on them. And a couple of them I knew and had worked with, and it was a really fascinating thing how they chose to represent themselves naked. The most surprising thing for me was the ones I actually didn't like. So, because some of them were too, like, oh, here's my cock, and look, here I am, you know, having in some sexual act. And I thought, oh, that's what you want to present, is it? That's this one chance the tables are being turned and you're being photographed naked. And that's what you want to show the world. The ones who were just like, here I am naked, or else having a cup of tea or something. I found those much more interesting. These were both taken at in the same evening, actually.
Those were taken the same evening? That was a great night.
Yeah, it was. You know, it was at a party and there was people who was dancing and this was a sort of an act that was on. It's not as sordid as it looks. But again, you know, I love that. It looks,
it's like an old burlesque picture or something.
And they were kind of doing a sort of a burlesque, a slightly more risque than burlesque act. But this, you know, sometimes you find things afterwards that you didn't really, you know, there's a girl dancing with a spotlight behind her, but in the shadow of her body, there's her. You can see, I didn't realize until much later, and I think when I blew it up bigger, that you can actually see the girl in the shadow. I love that.
What I enjoy about doing fashion is that I like to create some kind of fantasy within a story. I'd say for fashion, you really need some kind of something to elevate it. Sometimes it's on the clothes, you know, sometimes it's in the girls, and sometimes you gotta throw a bit of magic. It's like a puzzle piece, you know, putting it together because you're not always working with the concept that you want. So a lot of it is improvising with what you have. was influenced by this Czech photographer, Drichtel, that had some very surreal photographs, and that was a point of reference for me. So I do use a lot of effects and color. I started doing a lot of like Polaroids because of this certain palette that it had. It's the coloration and how it's going to look and how the colors are going to work. And sometimes it's visceral, it's what my gut feels. But, you know, so it's a lot of experimentation. Time commissioned a story where they wanted me to photograph the Oscar-nominated actors for 2012. It's my first time shooting for Time, so of course I jumped at the opportunity, and
well, that's a big first job, wasn't it?
It's a big story.
Yeah, he's such a goof, isn't he?
Yeah, you know, and the thing about George was, you know, I mean, it was my first time meeting him, and, you know, and the whole time we were photographing, he was just telling jokes. And so for me, it was a joy working with him because he knew how to express. I have to say, with this picture of George, I thought this was the perfect expression that I had captured George for at that time, and I really wanted for the magazine to run it, but they were hesitant to run that one because it was just a little too amusing. And I was like, but that's how he was, and I wanted, so the one that actually ran in the story was just one that was just a little bit less.
We know about the editing floor way too well.
Yeah, if you might be on the floor in your entirety.
So this leads us to a segment called Fishbowl. I get to ask the first question. What photo do you wish you had taken?
I would like to have taken the picture. You know that one? And it's like they're at a party and there's Sophia Loren and she's going like this. And she's checking out Jane Mansfield's copious bosoms.
I know that picture.
I love that picture. And I think if I'd taken it, I would have been there. That would have been a good, looks like it was a good night. And I love actually being in situations like that where girls are checking each other out. But also when you're in one of those, you know, when you're in a booth and they come and snap you, in the moment when they're taking a picture of someone else and they're posing, you see them in a totally different way.
Here, you ask a question now. You get to do the fishbowl aspect.
How do you feel about image-based web business like Pinterest, Flickr, and Instagram, Sebastian?
I find myself not involved because I don't feel like I have anything to share. There's a personal side to it which I value that I want to keep private.
I find I'm quite intrigued by, like I'd started to do Instagram recently, and I really like people that I know, and I see what they're doing, and also even people I don't know but whose aesthetic I like, and I have, you know, maybe 20 people, and I quite like just that, like getting postcards from people.
Yeah.
But what I find daunting is that first there was Twitter and everyone's going, you've got to go on Twitter. I was like, oh, and I did, and I really like it. Now this one, I really like it. And all these other ones, I think I'm exhausted by, again, the choices that are there. I like being able to communicate with people. I like getting the news that way. I like seeing images that way. But I don't, at a certain point, I mean, certain people's aesthetic and taste I'm really fascinated by. A lot of people I'm not. A lot of people aren't that interesting. Do you know what I mean? I know that sounds mean, but it's true. And so
it takes a lot of time to figure out those who are. Exactly,
it does.
I like to know what other people are doing, but I snoop around, but...
On your scooter. He's snipping scooterist. So ask another question. I quite like asking questions. What are the best and worst things about the proliferation of camera phones?
I always wondered, with all this, everybody having camera phones, where are all those pictures of UFOs?
I know, or the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah.
I know.
It kind of ruins myth.
It's almost like an existential thing that you don't really exist. The moment hasn't really happened unless you have a photograph to prove it.
I think people just miss so much stuff around them. I think it's what you say. There's no longer this moment of allowing something to soak into your consciousness. Okay, last question. Ready? Who's the most photogenic person of all time?
I would say Marilyn Monroe, just because her image is so powerful and so potent. And also, I think photogenic to me means you look better in a photograph than you do in real life. I love when people say to me, "You're so photogenic," and I go, "Thank fuck." And I think the same is true of her, actually, that she was obviously a beautiful woman, but something happens through a lens that makes her even more beautiful. I think there aren't very many people like that. But don't you think photogenic is a slightly double-edged sword? Because it means you have great pictures, but you're kind of a disappointment in real life.
You look so much bigger and
yeah, I get that all the time. Oh, you're so much shorter than you seem on television.
We are putting a wrap, I guess, on our show today. And I wanted to thank Alan Cumming for today, for being here. Any day now is the new movie coming out. When do we expect that?
December the 14th.
December the 14th, okay. And Sebastian Kim, new baby. Lots of great work on the horizon. Well, this has been great. Thank you again for coming. Hi, I'm Mark Seliger, and we're here on Capture with Alan Cumming and with Sebastian Kim. Click the subscriber button below if you don't want to miss the new episode of the next shows.
It's right here.
It's only on reserve and only on YouTube. Click now.
Do it.
Click.
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 Click. Or else.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are you serious? I'm sitting here with David Sally and Cause, and this is Artist Talk. Have you ever gotten into any legal problems?
Nothing that wasn't controllable.
You know, there's that fine line between creativity and just mania. I think if I wasn't a writer, I would be a neurotic, strange person that people want to stay away from. It's like harnessing your OCD.
Harnessing my OCD. That's a genius.
Hey, I'm Joy Bryant, and I am a board sport enthusiast. I like to shred. And on my new show, Across the Board, I'm going to be shredding with the best of them.
Want to shred, yeah.
Yeah, I want to shred.
Yeah, well, let's do it.
My favorite friends, celebrities, athletes, artists. We're going to snowboard, we're going to surf, we're going to skateboard, we're going to have a great time.
Well, we both came over, went over some hurdles, a little obstacles today.
Yeah.
You break through shyness, and me
Breaking through that
what?
Tom, how's it going,
Good,
dude?
how you doing?
Good to see you, man.
I don't know if you're going to make it or not.
No, I mean, 5 a.m. is tough.
What do we got right there? Shark, I see him right there. Oh. All right, come on. This is the frisky one here. Yeah, be careful, guys.
You know, you have a reputation of pissing people off. Like, your blog pisses people off.
It pisses people off. This face pisses people off, you know? But, yeah, sometimes I get along.
Did your dad, was he on you constantly telling you how to do it since he was in the business?
My dad was such a dick, because he'll always tell me I suck, and then when he's in front of other people, that's my son. That's my son. He's real good. Jim.